Alright guys, so tonight I am getting ready to make a Pulk Sled, and that's P-U-L-K for us illiterate bastards. And so basically this is a sled that you can tow behind you snowshoeing or cross-country skiing. I just had a newborn not too long ago and trying to get him out and about and keep us active during the winter has kind of been interesting, and this is just one of the many ways to let us transport him while we're out and staying busy so we don't get the winter blues here. So that's what we're going to do. Some of the supplies you're going to need is some rope, some heavy duty tin snips or something to cut your rubber hose with, which I'll show you here in a minute, measuring tape, Sharpie, drill, beaner clips, 1 or 1 1/4 inch to 1 1/2 inch hose clamps, some nuts and bolts with some lock washers or some Loctite, and then obviously some hose. And then I got this PVC pipe that I cut into 6-foot lengths, and just 2 of them. And then obviously you're going to need a little sled. I got this at Walmart for like $40. Nice heavy duty sled. It's not too large, it's not too small. I can use it for other things like hauling firewood and whatnot when I need to. So it'll get the job done. So the PVC pipe I'm using is 1/2 inch PVC conduit, and could go with 3/4 if you want something a little stiffer. This stuff seems to be stiff enough. I'm not going to be pulling anything insanely heavy, and so I want to try to keep everything light as possible. So I just went with that. And then the hose I'm going to use to connect the sled and the PVC pipe, the stuff I bought was inner diameter 7/8 of an inch with an outer diameter 1 1/4. But you can also use 3/4 inch and 1 inch outer diameter, 3/4 inch inner, if you want something with a snugger fit. But with these hose clamps, it should grip it pretty well either way. And so that's how I'm going to kind of connect that. Basically, I'm going to put 2 clamps on to attach the hose to the PVC pipe, and then I'm going to cut this length once I figure out what kind of length I want, and then I'm going to bolt this down and kind of squish it down to the sled there, so it's got a nice kind of flexible way to connect to the sled. Alright, so I got about 10 inches of length cut for each piece of my hose, and then I got the hose clamps on and clamped onto the PVC pipe. And basically I ran my hose from here, and the PVC pipe ends about right here, which is 4 1/2 or 5 inches, I think. Looks like about 5 inches. So that's how the length that the PVC pipe is in there. So it's going to be nice and secure, not go anywhere. And then I left myself some wiggle room on here to figure out what length I want to attach this onto the sled part here. And then I'll just trim off whatever excess I got after I figure out the length I want there. Okay, so I got my 10 inches of hose clamped onto my PVC pipe. I got a hole drilled through my rubber hose, not through the PVC. The end of the PVC is about right here where the P is. And then, so this is all just rubber, right where I drilled through. Put the bolt. I drilled a hole right in the corner of the sled there, and I'm going to leave the extra little bit of rubber on for now because I think I'm going to drill a second hole back here and then connect it back here with another bolt going through, just to make it a nice strong solid connection, because I don't want this to break on me when I'm out in the middle of nowhere here in Alaska and cause problems. So I will show you guys that once I get it all connected up and bolted together there. Okay, so now I have both PVC pipes attached and clamped to the rubber. I have them bolted into the sled with washers on top so you don't squish through the rubber hose itself. And then a washer on the bottom, just so I'm not putting too much pressure in one small spot in the plastic and it rips through. And then I have a lock washer on top of that. And then the nut, obviously, crank her down nice and tight. Not too tight so you start pressing through the plastic though. And then you can trim your ends if you like to clean it up. Okay, so my next idea was to figure out how to attach these carabiners that I just got at my local hardware store into the larger female ends of the PVC pipe. So as you can see, they won't just squeeze in there perfectly. Maybe if I got a heat gun and heated up that plastic, I could squeeze it in there and get it to mold around it. But I think what I'm going to try and do is grind these edges down a little bit here on each side and see if I can get those to slide in there nice and snug without having to warp this plastic too much. And then I'm going to run a bolt through that, so a bolt will run right through this hole here while this is inside of there, and then it'll have a nice solid connection holding it in there, and that way you don't have a lot of play and stuff, which is just one thing I don't like when I'm pulling something. A lot of people connect all this stuff with rope and whatnot, but I just think it leaves too much wiggle room in play, which is really annoying and not very comfortable. Okay, so I got the beaners grinded down, slid into the pipe, drilled a hole through the pipe, through the middle of the eyelet on the beaner down there, and then ran a bolt, 2 washers on each side, lock washer, nut, tighten it down. Obviously make sure you get it to the angle that you want, whether it's going to be straight up and down or to the side, depending on how you want to connect it to your pack or your harness, whatever you plan on using. I'm going to try maybe a climbing harness and maybe a backpack that has some loops along the waist strap. Okay, so now the last thing I did, I drilled some holes every 4.5 inches along it and ran some rope through it for tie downs for gear and securing the car seat in. And what I did was do 2 loops for every piece of rope, and then I tied it down here into a knot, so when it pulls on the loop, it's just pulling on the actual knot itself, and you're not worried about tying knots where the holes are and having that rope rip out through those holes as much. So here's the finished product. Works pretty well. Well, if you find this useful and you end up making one yourself and you think of any improvements you can do for this design, feel free to let me know. Other than that, have a good one.